Well, I probably should have tightened it, but I didn't tighten it.
Yeah. I thought it was like free floating. It's not, it's just broken.
So let's see. Now, it needs to be tightened. But, you know, I can do it like this and make everybody dizzy. Now it'd be tightened now. Hmm?
Yeah, go on there now. Refresh it.
Okay, I had to tighten my tripod because we're all probably dizzy right now, but it's all right.
Now move it over a little bit so you can get Bethany. There you go.
I just want everybody to know that Christopher is here directing me with how to use my camera, which I do need that help. And so I just want you all to know that.
Yeah, still there. Oh, it's probably because she's got some weirdness where it's only.
It better not be. It better not be. I'm gonna.
Because she can't see. Oh, you are now. No. You're.
Can you see me now?
I think I fixed it last time.
I was gonna say because I'm like no.
Shaking?
Yes, I'm a nervous wreck. Because these meetings are my favorite place to be.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. Folks, thanks for being here. I'd like to open with a prayer, if you'll join me. Gracious Father, thank you for being here, caring, for hearing our prayers. We gather here for the purpose of serving our neighbors in Madison County. We ask your blessing on each person, family, and community that calls Madison County home. We also ask your blessing on each of our staff that provide service to our residents. Thank you for each one. We ask for your grace and wisdom as we consider the needs before us. Help us in our deliberation, decision making, that each would be honored to you, the people we serve. In the name we pray. Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Here.
Council Legend. Here. Council Grabowski. Here. Council Keller. Here. Vice President Norton. President Green.
Here. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You all have the minutes presented from August 12th. After having a chance to review them, I take a motion to approve or amend them.
Make a motion.
Councilor Grabowski, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Likens? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the agenda. I would like to offer a motion to amend the agenda, if it would be suitable to the council. We have a lot of folks with us here today, and thank you for carrying out to come out tonight. This is a public hearing. This is a public hearing for Madison County for Independence Fire and East Central Solid Waste. We have a number of agenda items for sort of regular monthly business. In thinking about the agenda, I unfortunately didn't really catch the way this unfolded before I realized people would sit through a whole lot of monthly stuff before there was an opportunity to share. If you've come to share a perspective with regard to the budget as presented, I would like to make a motion to move the public hearing to just immediately after the auditor's report. So I put that motion on the table. If anybody would be willing to join me in that recommendation. Councilor Keller, is there discussion?
Can you guys talk in your mics better?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're going to be transitioning. So if you have something to share, know that's going to be coming pretty soon. And otherwise, I don't really have a lot to say tonight on the comments. We have a lot to do. I just appreciate y'all being here. There's plenty of seats if you're standing and you want to sit down. Okay, Mr. Cole.
Good evening, Council. Todd Cole, Madison County Auditor. We're going to proceed to the next page. I was told to try this pointer out since I love my spreadsheet so much, but I want to focus on the, it's not going to work there, is it? Okay. Again, I want to focus up on the upper left-hand corner before we start. The 2025 adopted budget was $44,978,824. After additional appropriations and reductions through August, we're at $45,301,527. Whenever I look at this spreadsheet, what I always look at is the bottom right-hand number. So all the white months are obviously completed. The yellow months we're still somewhat guessing on. But if you look at the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that right now we're projected to end the year with $12,996,000, almost $13 million. $13 million would be a great place to be if you'll consider that we, in the upper left-hand corner under January, that we came into the year with $11,223,000. And we did, in May, you'll see that there's a property tax line. We did take that tax advance of $2 million to get to the end of May. So it looks like if we had a similar budget as this is next year, which we probably will since revenues are lower, then we'll be at a good place to be able to make that May draw without taking a tax advance. So things are looking pretty good. I am aware that you have some appropriations coming, but I'm happy with what I see so far on the cash flow for the general fund. If you'd move it to the next screen, Kara. Now, starting with that 2025 total budget number, the $45,301,527, that's with all current appropriations and reductions through August the 31st. One thing I want you to think about is the total recurring revenue for 2026 is roughly $44 million. It's going to be somewhere between $44 million, $44,500,000 approximately. For the 26 budget, you will have somewhere between $800,000 and $1,301,527 less than you're currently budgeted for in 2025. When contemplating the budget for 2026, please keep in mind that you do not have the revenue to support raises. You do not have the revenue to support the proposed merit board contract. You do not have the revenue to support the cost of living allowance for the rest of the county's 700 employees. I would suggest that if you consider any type of cost of living allowance, that you make it a one-time expense out of the rainy day fund. 26 and 27 look to be the most critical years as a result of Senate Ruled Act 1. During 2027, you'll be able to adopt a new lit rate for 2028 under the new lit structure, and that stands to provide some relief. Until then, these next 2 years are going to be tough to get through. They're not going to be fun. We're going to presume that we're going to write a budget close to where we are this year, and you're really going to have to watch your additional appropriations next year because you'll start burning cash. If you move to the next screen, Kara, the changing lit structures. I've kind of heard some mumblings and different things floating around that you might be interested in changing lit structures. Currently, changing the lit structure to help with the lack of revenue in 26 and 27. Please remember that this is a local income tax council matter. It must be started immediately to be able to change the structure for 26. This process takes time and must be completed by November the 1st to affect 2026. That being said, I urge the council to consider passing the same budget as 2025 as your adoption date is October the 14th. If the lit council happens to pass a restructured lit, then the county council can address budget changes next year. Please realize that your budget adoption date is October the 14th. You will not know by that date, most assuredly, even if you restructure the lit, whether it's going to pass the local income tax council from if you start the process, the other entities all have to vote on it. You will not know the answer to that before your budget's due. I encourage you to budget on what you know right now, and then if we need changes at the beginning of the next year, then we can have those conversations at that point. Is that my last slide, Karen? That's all I have for you today.
So he pretty much just read from the slides, you guys.
I do not, but I anticipate they'll be here in the next day or two for the CNAB, so I assume that's what you're talking about.
Because last meeting, we thought it was gonna be like 3 weeks ago, right? Or 2
Yeah,
weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, and when we did the tip neutralizations, there were some problems to work through that we just got through today. So once we go through the rest of the process in Gateway, we should have those numbers, but that shouldn't take very long now that the ball's back in our court.
What is the date that we have to have our budget passed by?
I think you can actually pass it by the end of October, but you'll need to re-advertise. That means you'll need to do a new public hearing. You'll have to advertise 10 days before the public hearing, and then you'll have to have 10 days between the public hearing and the adoption date.
So if we met on the 14th and didn't come to a conclusion, can it just call a special meeting for 2 weeks later?
You could not. No, you don't have time to re-advertise and have the public hearing and then wait 10 days to have the adoption meeting. Any other questions? Again, the deliver a fantastic news for the council.
So I'm going to open up the public hearing. You have you come and you have in mind to share something. We'd love for you to do that at this point. That gives you a chance to share your view. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome. If you want to leave after that, that's your call, obviously. Just a couple of sort of parameters around the sharing of public comment. Please share your name and your address, and we ask you to respect the 3-minute time limit. We want to hear your opinion and view about the budget. This is specifically related to the proposed budget for 26. So we would like you to keep your comments related to that or some issue related to that. We want you to be respectful of everybody in the room. Feel free.
Kathleen Callahan, LaPel, Indiana. I would like for you to be respectful of our tax dollars. That's what I would like. So last year, in 2024, you began the year with $99 million. You ended with over $107 million. That means this county took about a 7.9 profit off of these people all sitting here. That money then was transferred into the rainy day fund, about $5 million or so dollars. I would have to go back and look. You consistently tell our officers, you consistently tell our coroners, you consistently tell good working people that you cannot honor raises. Yet when you go back and look at every single year, elected officials, bosses are all getting raises. Some of those raises up to 40%. How is that fair? If people have their perpetual funds, they're sliding in raises. You say we have no money, yet you've hired 54 more employees than we did 4 years ago. How many officers were hired out of that 54? The people that we need the most in this environment, how many? But how many were promised to them when they were out lobbying that if we just got this public safety money increased, these people would be paid? But they haven't been. How do you say that you guys voted no 2 years ago, saying, hey, we don't need this? All the other municipalities said they needed it. And then you get this influx of like $3-4 million, and nobody raised these officers. Nobody raised the coroners. This is a problem. We have a mismanagement of money. Nobody wants to show us where that money's going. Tonight, if you honor the commissioners, if you give them close to $450,000 that they're asking, they will be at $950,000. You cut their budget. 4 of you last year cut their budget by $1.1 million. Now you're $150,000 short. of what you cut their budget. Is that how you do a budget? Is that what you do? You send your kid off to college, you say, I'm only gonna give you $5,000, and they end up coming back with a $10,000 bill, and you say, hey, I'll just pay it? Where is any point of you guys holding these people accountable? The commissioners are out of control. The people who are in control, the people who you need in the middle of the night, are standing all right back there. But nobody wants to pay them. This is a problem. We have the money. But what happened here is that the commissioner screwed up so poorly and badly on that jail. That jail should have been around $50 million. But we have to get the money all stockpiled so you guys can secure those bonds. That's not fair to the men and women who are going to staff that. And I'm going to tell you something. If you build the Taj Mahal and you don't have anybody to staff there because nobody's going to come, because nobody wants to get paid, this is going to be a problem. These officers could walk out here tonight, walk over to APD, and get an instant $30,000, $40,000. I don't know why any of them are still standing here, because I would do that. So the fact that we're not being good stewards of our money, and we are rewarding bad departments who cannot be fiscally responsible, is a problem. Think about it. Last month, the sheriff has to get up here and beg every single time for money, just as bad as I did when I was in the coroner's office. Now we brought Sumner's home. He's going to have to extradite him. Yes. And here's the thing. Where's the money for that? Right? And that's the thing. We don't want to listen to the constituents actually put some points out here. We want them to hurry through this. You can't get through your thoughts in 3 minutes. Do you think the public can? Be good stewards. Please don't say that you didn't know that this was happening, because when you ran, you people said you attended these meetings and you were aware of what's going on with the budget. They deserve raises. There's several people in the community, and you guys have the money. You're just using it to make sure that you can pay for that jail. Tough. Pay your officers, pay your employees before you lose them all.
Sir?
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Jim James. I live at 705 Oxford Road. That's the age of Union Township, right across the Range Line Road there. And if you could, if somebody knows off the depth, what percent of the county budget goes for salary and benefits and stuff, do you know?
Approximately 50% goes to salary.
What would that number be?
70%.
Thank you. Yeah, the County Chamber of Commerce and State Commerce them says that the median income in Madison County is about $27,000 a year. And that is a low amount of money, especially if you're gonna ask for some kind of a tax increase. They'll pay for it. And in Madison County taxes, we already have the county property tax, county income tax, county public safety tax or salary tax, whatever you want to call it, county wheel tax, county excise tax, county food and beverage tax. There are quite a few taxes up there. And other states that are bordering us there, in states all over the country, their minimum wage is from $12 to $15 an hour. Here in Indiana, it's still the old third world $7.25. And I know the governor had said that local government has to do a better job of the way that they manage the tax dollars. Well, my tax comment on that is that I think local government does a better job than the state, you know. And he was talking about spending, and he put 8 people in his office, each one of them at $275,000 a year. That's not a good way to cut spending on there. But I think we're down to the point in Madison County, because we're close to a poverty county. We're down close to the point to where that we can't put any more taxes on the low-income people. And if you have people in departments that want big raises and stuff, you just have to see how many employees you have to cut out of the department to pay for it. I know that's not a good thing that people likes to do, you know, but I don't believe that you can put any more the tax, and we already have a lot of the taxes on that. And Mr. Chairman, President, members of the council, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
David Sargent, Anderson, Indiana. First of all, I'd like to thank the council because this is a thankless job. With command authority, you also have great responsibility, and you have to balance everything. A certain member of the council expressed that to me. It was a lot easier on this side, looking at that side, than that side looking at this side. So very simply, public safety is probably the main thrust of the county council government that is necessary here in the county. Everybody worries about public safety. That's the sheriff's office, that's fire, police, ambulance, and the coroner's office. The coroner's office is a public safety and a law enforcement agency. So please look at that, because when the people call that phone and they're in dire need of help, that's who they rely on. And you have to have quality, experienced people in those positions, or else mistakes get made. So very simply, look at the budget, look at what we can do to fund these people, because they have the worst jobs in the county. Thank you.
Cheryl McKinney. I want to talk about wasteful spending. I can't remember the numbers because you guys continue to give the commissioners thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars every time I turn around. But you gave them money to fix the bell tower, the clock. How many of you looked at it this evening when you came in? That's what I thought. Thought you might want to know that it was wasteful spending because the clock is incorrect. So maybe somebody might want to fix it. Or stop spending wastefully.
Yep.
Anyone else? The opportunity to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
Summers from Alexandria. When you get hired into a job and you're really anxious for it, and then they say, well, let me just say, you're not going to get a raise when you get hired. Would any of you want to go to a place that didn't want to give you a raise after you worked so hard and you put your life on the line every single day, every time they put on the best? Would you? I know I wouldn't.
Lorraine White, I would like to encourage the council to fund public safety, just like so many of the other constituents have told you tonight. I'm sure that you are all aware by now, but our Madison County Sheriff's Department today caught a fugitive that's been on the run for 2.5 years. They didn't do that in one day. They worked hard every day to get that done. They didn't do that without funding. They had to have funding to get that done. In order to get him back here, they need funding to get that done. And while this county, each step of the way, had elected officials and appointed officials that failed victims, Sheriff Beeman and his department came through.
It's not scary. They won't hurt you.
Just have you arrested if you don't follow the rules.
Good evening, council members. My name is Leila Barrett. I live in Pendleton, Indiana. My public safety comes from the Sheriff's Department. I would like to see the Sheriff's Department funded. I realize, looking at the figures, and because I've been to several meetings, there's budget issues that are here. My biggest question is for you to think about, and I know you've already thought about it, but the commissioners committed you to something that they didn't talk to you about. How did they continue to get away with this? That's my only question.
Appreciate the courage of each one of you being willing to step up to the mic. We're still here. Love to hear from
Kimberly Owen from Anderson, and actually an employee at the Sheriff's Department. As these others have spoke up for our department and our officers, I'm sure you guys have all seen the increase that Anderson City has got. We're gonna continue to lose our officers, and I've personally spoke to several of them that have plans to leave our department if they do not honor the merit contract. That was an agreement that's always been
It's a big deal. It's a lot of money.
negotiated with the commissioners, and the commissioners did agree to that, and I hope that you respect that.
Good evening, Mason Brizendine, representing the Madison County Merit Deputies. Since the meetings in August, I have a list of at least 7 deputies who plan to leave this department contingent on the outcome of this contract. Those are the ones comfortable enough to tell us about it. Who's going to fill that void? People more qualified than these deputies? You're up there crunching numbers and making spreadsheets. Last night, these brave men and women tiptoed through their own homes just last night to avoid waking up their spouses and children, to go fight evil in the darkness so your families could sleep safely. These brave men and women kiss their babies goodbye before each shift, not knowing if they'll get ambushed in broad daylight, pumping gas into a police car just because of a star on their chest. Do you think I'm being dramatic, or do you think this is the reality that we live in? I ask you to get to know some of these men and women you're willing to discard to other jurisdictions. Ask them about their certifications, their training. Ask them how well they know this county, the people who live in it, the businesses, the farmers, the churches, the schools. Ask them about why they chose to work in this county. Ask them about the sacrifices that they've made for it. We're going to lose a tremendous amount of talent and experience for what? Just how much risk is this council willing to accept? What is this council willing to sacrifice for your balanced budget today that you already know is going to change by the first quarter of 2026? You're hyper-focused on putting a budget into a computer by October. You're not looking at the destabilization and the impact this will have in a year, 2 years, 3. I promise you, it's going to be a lot more expensive than the price tag on this contract. I urge you to not be nearsighted. Viable solutions to this problem have already been proposed. Do not let this county's law enforcement become casualties in your political crossfire. Really consider what the taxpayer needs. Think about the officer that you want responding if you needed help. I promise you it's these men and women back here. It's not the bottom of the barrel that we'll eventually have to scrape through to replace them. Make a decision to safeguard this county for years, not for Ken's newspaper headline tomorrow. Make the correct choice. Thank you.
Rob Trotter, Anderson, Indiana. So I agree with what these people are saying. We need to fund the sheriff's department for sure. Certain services are noticed by the citizens more than many others. I think a lot of people maybe don't have to deal with the sheriff's department. I haven't had to have them come out to my house. But if I had to call the police for some reason, it would be one of these guys or ladies that responds to the emergency. And I want them to be there when the time comes. Last meeting, you talked about the sheriff asking for more money for a fund that he needed new money for that wasn't included in the budget when he had originally asked for $41,000, which is what he spent the year before. But the budget was $31,000. So he's way over budget because not only did he know it was going to take, $41,000 because that's how much it cost the year before, but prices went up and then it cost more than he even expected. So he's way over budget because his budget was initially cut to begin with. So certain things need to, if there's justifiable reason, like this is how much had to be spent on a budget line the year before, or this is how much it's going to cost to be able to have officers, we need to make sure that we put that money there. And we have to go, it doesn't necessarily have to be across the board, but maybe we need to go to other departments and be like, no, you have to get cut because we need public safety. You have to get cut because we need to have these other offices. These things are the important things. These other things are luxuries. Like we've got a park board that's going to eventually want money. How are we supposed to get money for a parks board that exists now and is going to need money in perpetuity once they build a park to be able to maintain it, but there's no money now? We can't pay the sheriffs, but we have a parks board that's been given ARPA funds to spend. We need to, we have to get some of that stuff under control. Stop things like a parks board. We don't need new departments when we can't afford to pay the employees that we already have in existing departments. Thank you. That's true.
Sorry, I already spoke. Cheryl McKinney. So I don't know how many of you have ever had to call a sheriff. I'm at work one day and my teenage daughter gets home from school and there's a strange car in the driveway and she sees a person running from the back of our house. She calls me, I in turn call 911. They send an officer out. That officer in turn had her wait in her car at a neighbor's house a block away while he went in and secured the house before she was allowed to go in there. If you have a need, you're going to want these officers. It's not, oh, I don't ever use them, so I don't need to fund them. You have to have them. And it can't be, there's nothing wrong with new officers. I was a new nurse once. But what I know today versus what I knew almost 30 years ago is night and day. And it's the same with these officers. We need to keep our tenured officers. We need to pay them. There's a contract, honor it, and pay these men and women so that we have people here to protect our families. I too rely on them. I don't live inside city limits.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing now, and we'll proceed on with the business of our regular monthly meeting. The next on the agenda is old business. Old business really is an issue that was raised by President Norton last month with regard to the Reedy Financial Group. That actually is an item on the agenda further down under the County Council. We're just going to simply put it off until that point and address it. There's no new business presently, so on to transfers. First transfer is the surveyor's office.
Dr. Green, Council. Hello, friends. I have two requests with transferring new money. I don't, they're both, they tie hand in hand together. So, I don't know how you want to handle that.
We have to transfer. We're just.
But the new money could take care of these transfers. There's the problem.
Do you want to put off the conversation until we get to the point in the new money?
I think we would.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll move on then.
Okay.
Assessor's office. Wait for someone here. In the assessor's office.
They're gone to the conference. So.
Oh, they're off the conference?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's several of them.
Okay. Did anyone speak to their request?
Table it.
Put it off until next month?
Yep.
Next, voters registration.
What we're asking for is, we are running short on our postage for mailing out new registration cards and NCOAs, which tells us if someone moves, if they've had moved out of the county, or if their address is in fact correct, and that's something that comes and is generated from the DMV. So it's increased our postage as well. So we're asking for that, and this money is to come from a first deputy that left the office in May, and we've not been able to fill that position. So we were wanting to just take some of the money from there to cover these
Then they don't need
needs.
it. Get rid of the
We
position.
also have got some information on the conference. It's the state called election conference. It's every December. And we were short in that from what we had asked for the budget last year. So we were asking for an increase to transfer that money over $1,000. And then the repairs and maintenance, what they are wanting to do is add some signage inside of the office. We get a lot of people that will come to the counter wanting the clerk's office, so we just kind of feel like if there's something in the front of the office or on the wall inside that says voter registration. Not quite sure how much it'll be, and we'll only use what is necessary for that signage if we're doing that.
Okay. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Can you guys talk into your
Is
mics?
there a second? Second. Mr. Steele, any discussion?
So you can't hear you guys.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you guys speak up? Because we can't hear you.
Can everybody make sure their mics are on and directed toward their voice? Next is planning.
Good evening, Council. I'm Larry Strange from the Planning Office. I'll keep this short. I don't want to sound entitled or anything, particularly in light of the discussion tonight, but we are requesting a transfer of funds for a new desk for my office. We are requesting $1,060 to be transferred from professional services to machinery and equipment. We would be purchasing the desk from Miller Huggins. The county has an account with them, and we do receive discounts. In addition of the options provided, we selected the lower priced option. The reason I am requesting a new desk is straightforward. The current desk, while serviceable, is beginning to fall apart. It had a companion stand-up bookshelf which began to shake a year or two ago, and I had it removed. The second reason is my office is a hub for citizens of the county who come into our office, often to speak with me privately or in a conference about their property or projects that they propose to do in the county. I believe a professional-looking desk gives a good image. Regardless of your decision, I enjoy and take pride in my work for Madison County and will continue to do so as long as I continue employment. Thank you.
Larry, are there any desks
I'm assuming, I don't really have an answer for that.
Could you please speak up a little bit? We can't hear you.
I know there's always,
It's not any better.
things, that are on the, email, whatever, about different items, and I didn't know if the county has a place that has particular items for those things.
I have not seen, I have seen the emails about various bookshelves and things that have come, and I have not seen any email come about a desk. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, and if you wish, I'll be happy to look into it.
Is it something that you could look into, and then we can address this situation, this particular item?
Sure.
That last email that you're referring to that I saw with desks that were from the county extension office, they had two. I don't know if they still do or not, but they had two. I don't know.
Okay.
What kind of condition they're in.
Well, if you're willing to withdraw and reconsider in a month or so you're not able to find a desk, would that be acceptable?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
And your recovery.
Evening, Council. It's Greg Chandler, Magistrate Circuit Court 2. This is transfer request. This is money comes from a grant from the Indiana Office of Court Services for Family Recovery Court. This is the second year of our grant, and just asking for a couple changes to some of these line items in order to straighten this thing out. So the first three, the FICA, PERC, and group insurance, were due to maybe an oversight, or when we requested the money last year, the coordinator made $60,000 salary, but was employed at the beginning of March, so only received $50,000. I think FICA, PERF, and insurance numbers were based on last year's numbers, and that needs to come out of a different line item. It's all out of the same grant. It's already been approved by IOCS. We requested their approval first, and they gave it. The part-time coordinator was Katie Stapleton, the coordinator for the other three problem-solving courts, assisted us last year in getting the FRC started. Just for last year, didn't carry over to this year at all, but one paycheck did. And so we actually returned some of the money to the grant office this year. But in that particular line item, it was missing that exact amount because she was paid for one paycheck this year out of last year's grant money, which had to be returned. Any questions?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve, Councilor Keller. Second, Councilor Grabowski. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Highway.
Good evening, Council. Scott Hartless, Highway Superintendent. Mine's kind of like Ken's. It'd probably be best if I waive my transfer to my new monies because it's going to be confusing to run it all together. That's what we need to do. So,
We can do that.
all right, sounds good.
The next item on the agenda is the new money from miscellaneous fund.
Right.
Is that what you got?
Okay, yeah, yep, I'll go, yeah. All right, y'all ready? So my transfer, we took some money out of the wrong line to pay this year. It come out of our 2,200, which covers our oil, gas, everything for the garage. It should have come out of paving. That's why we're trying to transfer it back into where it belongs to make up, to try to put as little reappropriation going on here as we have to. So with those two were 43,000 combined. The transfer that went out to two different companies. That's what we're wanting transferred back. That's what we're wanting transferred back from paving into 2,200 operating supplies.
Probably a dumb question, but can we do a transfer from a 22, from a 3,000 to a 22? We can't, okay.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Likens, is there a second? Councilor Grabowski. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Next is the new money from miscellaneous funds.
All right, you ready?
We're ready.
All right, so that would be, the first one would be the fuel bill where all the other departments have come out and get fuel at the highway department. We purchase all the fuel, they reimburse us with checks that goes back into the highway fund. So we're looking to reimburse that at almost $25,000 to put back into that 2,200 also. Last month, we talked about, Scott wasn't able to be here, and we combined his request for last month to this month. So I want to make sure he has the numbers that we're working with. And that number you're looking at for 2,200, we can actually drop that. I've done some refiguring. And what we're really paying for is the fuel. We're spending about anywhere from $22,000 to $24,000 a month just in fuel. Not just for the other departments, but this is our go time. We're paving, we're chip sealing, the trucks are back and forth all day, every day. I'm just trying to get enough money put back in it, so I'm not in front of you guys every month. So that, actually it says 310, I could get by and make it work at 150, which would put what I just brought in front of you, 75,000, we're just basically reappropriating. And then I've got the other 75,000 would come on unappropriated cash that I'm asking for.
So when you say 75,000, it's the 43 that we transferred.
Yeah, and the other 25 from the fuel, correct, correct. That was money that was already in that fund that got taken out, so I didn't spend it, it's just basically coming right back where it was supposed to be.
It's that 75 plus an additional 75.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Isn't that 68?
Yeah, 68.
Thank you for doing that. So it'd be 68.
Either way, it just needs to come to 150,000 total, the 68, and then whatever it's all coming from the same pot, this money has been put back in there that. Yeah, it's all gonna equal 150. Thank you.
Does everybody understand what's being requested here?
No.
Questions?
So originally, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 310 was originally the 250 that he requested last month, plus an additional 60K for this month. But now he's saying that of that 310, he really only needs 150 total, because he's got 68,000 that we transferred with the 41 and the 25, the 43 that he received, back in there from the wrong account. And then 25K is what he was reimbursed for gasoline from other departments that's in there now. So that's 68, so that he's really asking for so he's asking for an additional 82,000 appropriation.
It's on highway new money.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a justification here that says 25,000 is a return check for our wrong machine.
That's for that's for machinery equipment, that's not the 2,200 line.
25 is approximately what he got back in gas.
The fuel.
I think it's actually a little more than that, Scott, because I
It
went
could
through
be,
and I added
yeah,
all those
that's-
papers. you gave me.
Yeah.
It was actually closer to 29,000.
So half the justifications are in our packet from last month, the office packet. So
I don't know if I'm
missing
missing
half of it, what I'm looking at.
So, his explanation for the 250,000 last month and the 2,200 line was money back for fuel usage, and additional to cover fuel and equipment parts for 25.
To get to the end of the year, correct?
That was for the 2,200 line, that we used last month.
Okay, so, Todd, when we appropriate new money to like the highway fund, for instance, that money comes from the tax levies for highway. Correct?
It works a little different, they're based off of fuel tax, so it's, their portion of fuel tax that gets distributed from the state, so every month they get a certain amount of money. So all this money he has in the highway fund already, he's just seeking for the appropriation, it's all fuel.
So it's not really gonna cost us any more
It's not
Just
gonna.
sitting there waiting to be appropriated.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the results. Or 150?
Yes, correct.
And that's in the 22,000 line.
That's in the 22,000. Motion to approve 150,000 to 22,000 line. Councilor Light, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Grabowski, is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next.
So the next line is the 44,000 line. That's what you're talking about, machinery, equipment. We got a check back for $25,000. The company sold us the wrong machine, which is a brine machine that we use to put brine down the road in the winter. It went out unexpectedly last year, and so that machine is triple what they originally told us. They just tried to sell me something, so that check's going back to be reappropriated. The rest of the money that I want to put in that line is we're having to replace Sonatrol, which is our security system for the highway. And currently, the maintenance crew's out taking the walls off of our building on the inside because we had to get our spray foam done. We had a leak. It's kind of a mess. And we had a mold issue, so we now have to take Sonatrol off of the wall. So we're going to be paying them anyway because we got to. I'm not a techie, but they're saying we're going from 5G to 6G or whatever. So it's something that's got to be done. We're trying to get that one put in, as well as I've been doing a lot of work with Ken, the surveyor, and we're trying to get a remote control mower to help both departments. Ours is more for safety. It's going to save Ken's department a lot of money for when he can mow his own ditches and start putting money to fix ditches rather than mow them. So that's what my two pieces I'll be spending my money on for my equipment. It's also going to be reappropriated money that's just sitting there waiting to be appropriated in the highway fund.
That is the 128,000.
Correct.
Any questions? With the motions,
I make a motion to approve.
Councilor Light, is there a second? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Jessica Baston, County Engineer. My request is related to the Cumulative Bridge Fund 1135. We are asking to appropriate existing cash reserves. We're asking for $200,000 added to a new account of $3,100 for professional services. The reason for this request is not because we have additional spending. This is an administrative request. We have 4 projects funded through the Federal Rural Grant Program that is administered through NDOT. And the way that program works is we pay the bills up front, and then they reimburse us 80% of those costs. This is the first year since I've been here that we have had projects with expenses that were eligible for reimbursement within those grants. So the past years, we've had the grants awarded, but we haven't been to the point of the project where NDOT is reimbursing us for the work, if that makes sense. As we've gone through this year, we've been doing this process, and we have been charging those expenses to the 30034, the structure replacement account within the Cumulative Bridge Fund, which is typically how we do that. That's pretty standard as a place to put it. But that account is very overloaded with charges, and so what we're seeing is that if we can isolate those charges into a separate account, it allows us to track them better and ultimately report out on them better, particularly when we go through audits and so forth. So in next year's budget, we have established 3,100 accounts, but we don't have that in this year's budget. So I'm asking to do this now so we can move those charges from this year into that account so that we can be consistent. That's a bit of a convoluted explanation. I'm happy to answer questions you have on that.
So it's not a process of transferring appropriated money from one line item to another, it's actually a new appropriation?
I'm asking for a new appropriation because we've already spent a portion of those funds, and rather than transferring, we could do it that way, but then I risk running the budget out on the 30034. We have a healthy cash reserve in that account, and this is a non-reverting fund, so that fund will, or the unused funds will revert back into cash reserves. Starting next year, we're going to be hitting the bridge construction projects. When I started, we had very limited projects in design, and not to go off on a tangent, but bridges take 4 to 5 years from design starting to construction because of the permitting and regulatory process. So we're just now getting to where we're going to start really ramping up bridge construction. So starting next year is when we will be running that cumulative bridge fund pretty hard and buying down on those cash reserves. Now we've been building it up to where we can be able to fund these projects. Starting next year, we're going to be really spending them. So we could do that, Jody. This was just a cleaner way to do it. If you prefer a transfer, I don't particularly have a strong feeling either way. I think the end result is the same because it's from cash reserves in a non-reverting fund. So.
Any other questions? Take a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Ashley Lamowski, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Council.
Public hearing items from the general fund. First on the list here is human resources. That's actually second on our document.
Good evening, Beatrice Ramey, HR Director. I am asking for money to replace my badge printer that is over 12 years old. And IT done whatever they could to fix it, and it's not fixable. So the amount that I'm asking for is to purchase that new printer.
Does the public get to speak?
I second that motion.
So motion was, second, Councilor Cole. Okay, now it's time for public.
I want to say something.
Catherine Callahan, I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Ramey because when you look at these general funds, I've never known any place where I can tell you the exact number that I actually want to purchase something. So it is refreshing to see a department come in and say they want exactly $2,568.83. That's more refreshing than seeing these blank checks that say, hey, I just want $126,000, I just want $154,000, I just want $15,000. I'd be a little bit more transparent if people were doing what Ms. Ramey's doing.
Anyone else? Okay, motion is second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, prosecutor's office.
Thank you, Counsel. Andrew Hanna, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. Our requests tonight, both of these are just what are refunds or scholarships that obviously just by procedurally to come back to the county, they have to go into the general fund and then we have to ask for a new appropriation. So these are things that are coming back to these accounts, but we can't just put them in there directly. We have to ask for the new appropriation.
How many vehicles do you use?
We don't lease any vehicles anymore. Our vehicles are owned. These are the part of the leases that are coming back from Adult Protective Services. That's what was returned on there.
Make a motion to approve.
Councilor Hope, is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Light? Any other discussion? Public comment, yes, thank you. I apologize. Get excited. Anybody have anything they'd like to share about this? seconds.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's actually for Mr. Cole. So, are things like this factored into the revenue estimate for the year?
No, I generally think it's a good idea for things like sale of property, reimbursements, refunds, to go ahead and automatically appropriate them. It causes some good incentive for departments to manage the budget.
Any other questions?
Well, I think the reason that question came up, because we had requests earlier this year, didn't we? I think with the sheriff's department where we didn't give it. It was a reimbursement, we didn't put it back in there. So I know we're trying to be consistent, but it seems like if we try to be consistent, there's always an exception, so.
Thank you.
Sound like a parent. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, John.
Next is the surveyor, Mr. Kaczynski, you're back. And we're trying these two together.
So there's gonna be three.
Well, three, yes, thank you.
The first one is old money from last meeting. We had that 20,000 out there for that remote control mower that Scott talked about. I'm gonna pull that off. Scott's gonna pay for it out of his department, the money he just gave.
And then the 44,000 machine equipment.
That's the last council meeting we had that I had, that was old.
Right, but
Yes.
it's on here for new money for this 20,000 on 44.
No, that's,
Is that what it is?
We really can't hear you. I'm not even trying to be hard
Is
about
that
this.
the $20,000
Thank you.
that's in the 4,400 line for machinery and equipment on this?
from last, yes, that is correct.
To your point now.
We're gonna pull that off. Scott's gonna pay for it, excuse me. And we're gonna look at the drains that was recommended, and we're gonna look at before we send out contracts for next year to determine which ones we can do ourselves through a part-timer and pay for it at that point, and then put the money back onto that drain for any maintenance that could be used at that point. So we're gonna pull that for 20,000 from last council meeting, the 4,400.
Okay.
Now, today is and we sent you, an Angie, sent you from my office, email a couple days ago regarding some pictures and Navico streams. You give us $30,000. These are not legal drains to us. We pay for log jams. We pay for beaver dams on these. On what we sent you last 2 days ago, we have 97 miles of streams. Pike Creek, Killbuck, Little Killbuck, Indian, Stony, Sugar Fork, Fall Creek, and Lick Creek. We get no money except for what you give us to clean it up. The pictures you're looking at is one we just did. This was done last year, and we paid $25,000 to clean that up. Today alone, we just did this one. The highway department did it for us. We had no money. We're out of money, and we're in the red. If I would have, when we bid this out, we're looking about, I think, somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000 to have this work done that the highway department did today. And they did us a favor, Scott and his group. The only thing I had to do is go out and buy them pizzas and deliver it and feed them for the day. Pretty cheap for $15,000 worth of work. So how this, you have two requests. One is for a $10,000 we were going to transfer money from 31,200 and 39,205, 10,000 each to 39,205 for the 20,000. But I asked for new money for $20,000. I was hoping not to use that 10,000 from those two departments. If you recall, 5-6 months ago, you did give me permission to hire somebody. I came back last time and gave you a report card of what we've done with that person. If I had to grade that person, it's an A+ at this point, what would we use that money for? Part of that job for that person also is to do reassessments on these drains, which we talked about, that they're so antiquated in pricing that we have to look at reassessment on the drains that we have today. If I could use the $10,000 from these two accounts, I was gonna hire an engineering group just to oversee what we've done to make sure we capture everybody in everybody's watershed. The watershed is this again. Here's the drain that's legal. Here's everybody that uses that drain. They pay into the drain. We gotta make sure we have the boundaries correct. I'm not sure they're 100, well, I can say is today, they're not 100% correct. We're gonna have to tweak it, and we have been tweaking it. I wanted an outside firm just to look at some that we've done to make sure we're 100%. So when we start this process on reassessment, we're not going back and saying, oh, I wish we would have done this, that, and the other. We're gonna make sure it's 100%. So I'm asking you to give the $20,000 as new money for Navico Streams. I have a bill out there for $11,043 that were in the red. What happened was, between the surveyor's office last year and the auditor, and Todd and I had this conversation, there was a bill that was turned in that didn't get paid until January of this year for $11,320. I believe the money was in there when we started updating our drains and looking what we had in each drain at that point. This came up. Talked to Todd. It didn't happen, so we're down $11,000 in that. I need the $20,000 to cover the bill that's out there as today as we speak. I would never have the work done if I would have known the money wasn't there. I could spend another $50,000 with no problem, because we know in April how hard the spring was with all the rain. We have a lot of issues out there in these streams at this point. The pictures that you received a couple of days ago showed you 97 miles. We can't control Mother Nature. You can't control what falls into these creeks. You have the pictures. And if I had to hire out for that, the one was $25,000. Today cost me $150 out of my pocket just to feed these guys and gals out there and give them drinks. Cheap cost of doing business, but I'm asking for $20,000 of new money. If you choose not to do that, then I have to transfer $10,000 from those two accounts to cover this bill.
Yeah, are any of these reimbursable under the emergency declaration?
If it is, I don't know, to be quite honest. I don't know. I've networked with other surveyors throughout the state to ask them the same. I've asked, can I get any of this money back? And I don't have that answer. They didn't have the answer.
Emergency management?
I don't know that. Honestly, Rob, I cannot answer that. But if this bill would have been paid last year, we wouldn't be having this conversation today, and I wouldn't be back for the 5th time this year.
There's former president of Frankton Town Council has talked to me a few times about the LEAR grant for
Speak up, please.
the drains, the LEAR grant.
Still can't hear
I
you.
don't know if that's anything that your office has looked into.
I know what you're talking about, and it's been brought to my attention a couple months ago. Previous surveyors, one spent money that we didn't have, which I talked about how many drains were in the red. The problem with that is, and I mentioned to that person, if you know how we can initiate it, there's a cost to it. I'd be happy to look into it. All I heard from that person was, well, the other surveyor used to do it, take care of it, spend the money, why can't you? When I took this job, and I've been very clear in the communication, I don't spend money if we don't have it. First thing we look at when we have any issues with any drains, do we have money in that account? I won't ever spend the money that we don't have like we've done in the past, and I won't shift the burden to a taxpayer just because of that. If that person wants to, and I mentioned to that person, if you can tell me how to do it, or if you want to do it, because sometimes there's like a 10%, let's say the grant's $100,000. Whoever writes that grant, usually there's a 10%, they can get $10,000 writing it, the county would get $90,000. I would love to have that at our disposal and have a grant writer, but we don't have that luxury. And as busy as we've been and how hard this season has been in the surveyor's office, it's been a very struggle at that point. I mean, I was fortunate enough that you guys gave me an extra person. I mean, we've been so far behind, we're just playing catch up right now.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Your request is either the transfers for 20,000 or new money.
Right.
Correct.
New money would be from you, of course, the 20,000, the 10 and 10, but I would love to use that to get an engineer to come and make sure what we've already done for watersheds boundaries, make sure they're 100% correct before we start having hearings. You remember, there's only been one done in 16 years. One. I'm hoping to have 10 done this year at least, if not 15. That's the goal. If that happens, that's great. But remember, and I said this last time, a few months ago, a piece of plastic, a stick, costs this much money. Today we know it's way up here. These drains are, every farmer I've talked to so far is, hey, I'm happy for it. Instead of, I've heard in the past, before I ran, was they don't have the money, they're not gonna approve it. The farmers want it done, at least the ones I've talked to. There's probably some that have said no, but I've not heard that. We need to fix some of these areas, and this is a chance. We're trying to be proactive, but we need to pay this bill one way or the other. And next year, I might have to have more money than $30,000 that you allotted in the budget. You gotta think 97 miles, I'm only paying $3 a mile, if you break it down in math purposes, to fix the streams out there that aren't legal drains in our county. But we're responsible for it.
Questions? Comments? Motions?
How much is the bill that's outstanding right now, Ken?
I'm sorry?
How much is the bill that's outstanding right now?
11,000 and change, to tell you exactly. $11,043. I still have more work out there. I was hoping to use the rest for a little bit of the small jobs we have, where I can't get the highway to do every job for me. Today was just a blessing. They had a free day, and I had a free moment, and had a free idea, and they went with it. Well, if you don't ask, you don't, I mean, if you don't ask for it, the worst they can tell you is no.
You provide the transfer, that covers you and still gives you additional money. The downside is what doesn't get done. And how much is the engineering?
20,000, I've talked to, I don't want to use any names because it wouldn't be fair at this point. I've talked to a couple of groups out there. I've had one as high as 34,000. I don't know how you guys, I do not eat at a 5-star restaurant every day. I think that's high. I'm pretty frugal, you know, and I told that to that group, you know, and their comeback was the county. I mean, I hate to say this, and I've used it before, but the county. Oh, the county has money, but we need to be frugal with that money. And they think just we produce money, or you guys print it like it's tomorrow, and I have a hard time with that concept. So I'm still shopping, but I have a good idea who I'm going to go with, and I'm in the ballpark for the 20,000. And they're willing. I mean, they're meat and potato type of group of guys and gals that will say, hey, I'm going to give you this, but I might throw this in too. And they've been great with us in the department so far for this year. And for the bang for the buck, they're well worth the bang for the buck at this point. And it will help me out too. I mean, just to make sure that these boundaries are 100%. The worst thing I'd have to do is come back and ask you, we have to do 200 drains. You wouldn't want to, I mean, $3,400 or $34,000, that was only 10 drains. Imagine what 200 drains we would have to ask for, and we're trying to do it in-house. We're trying to do it with what we know, the systems that we've had. We have a program that the auditors had used in the past called Data Pit Stop that we're using that will help us send out the notices and everything at this point. We've used COG to help us define what the boundaries are. So we're trying to use, I'm using every resource possible. This is not something I've come in and thought of and, hey, throw it at you and see if it's stuck. I've done all the back work, negotiated, talked to everybody that could help us. I just need to fine tune this process.
So if you don't hire the engineer and they don't confirm that those watershed boundaries are 100%, what is the implication?
Well, let's say you're the farmer that I screw up on, or the person in that watershed, and then you come in and you start yelling, and you tell your neighbor, then we made a mistake on yours, his, and another one, then it becomes, well, how do we correct it then at that point? Why not be correct in the beginning instead of having to go back and try to figure out what we have to do at that point?
And then like overcharging or undercharging someone?
Or maybe not charging at all.
Your engineering line and drainage board, is that pretty much depleted? We had appropriated 20,000 in that.
I am still honoring contracts. If you, when I first came in, I went to the drainage board and I asked to do a development finance, what that is, and I think I told you guys. So if you're a developer, you come into our county, we don't do the reviews for free anymore. Not at all. We could spend 40, 50,000 this year. It's a busy year. We make the developer pay at this point, in the sense that if you're going to come in, you make the money, you pay for the review. If you're the engineering group, you will come back and tell me, hey, after it's been approved, you meet all the guidelines of stormwater. At that point, then you will pay, the developer will pay the engineering group, and we don't pay anything at all. I'm still paying for what was previous, that, let's say it was grandfathered in. It's hard to go back and say, hey, we didn't have it last year, but I'm going to charge you this year, but it was ongoing. So it wasn't something new that created in 2025. It was a 2024 project that moved into 2025. We're still paying, we're going to pay for that. That was just the right thing to do. I mean, it's hard to come back and tell you, hey, guess what? Now the rules have changed again. I wouldn't want that done to me. That's not very good business practice. And we don't want to be known for, we change the rules or the goalposts at any given time.
So the county does it.
Is there any money within the drainage board that can be transferred around in there? Is the money that you were looking at transferring, well, that is from the drainage board. Okay.
I have very little in your general fund.
I know.
You're asking for a needle in a haystack. I can't, I'm a gnat in this general fund compared to my perpetual fund. Sometimes I can't take it out of perpetual fund because it has nothing to do with Cornerstone. So again, if we get audited tomorrow, I'm going to be on that list. And
Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but if you're going to give us the option between a transfer or new money request, especially in the midst of budget season, I just feel like we would probably go for the transfer. Is there a way, I know Rob, what were you mentioning, that he could possibly look at emergency management?
Essentially storm damage, but I don't know what procedures were set out or requirements. Who checked with EMA to see if it can be reimbursed and added to the reimbursable funds?
Well, I don't know. Again, I can't answer for that, but you're thinking storms, trees down, corn stalks. Look at the, at that point, I have no idea where. I will be happy to do that tomorrow and have the conversation. But I'm throwing back, Christy, I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that. But I'm throwing back the lawnmower, saying, okay, if it's 20,000, I'm willing to give that up and figure out another way through the drains to make that happen, to make this happen at this point. keep in mind, this department hasn't, as some of my colleagues have said, you've been up there more than any surveyor in 20 years.
That's the truth.
It's been challenging. There's a lot to do. Come spend a day with me. Come out, spend a week with me. I'd be happy to show you. And when you come leave, you might say, oh my God, you will. I can't believe you guys do all this or you've done all this in this period of time. I would want you to come out and take it. I'm open to, for anybody in the public would want to come, they're more than welcome, because if you get to see what we do, then it's easier to say, hey, I've walked in those shoes. Today was a good example. I went to that, spent a couple hours with these people. I had 2 other projects I had to go out to in 2 other towns to take care of some issues that. So every day is that you don't know when that phone's going to ring and what's going to happen, and it rings quite often.
We have the issue on the table.
I'll move that we approve the transfer as presented.
Motion with Councilor Steele, is there a second to that motion to transfer?
I'll second that.
Councilor Galowski, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
Thank you.
The prince fails.
Pardon me?
The prince fails.
I got a loss in my column now.
Before Commissioner Gardner comes up, I'd like to speak on behalf of their request, because their request is actually my request, okay? The auditor takes care of a lot of different functions between the council and the commissioners, and part of that is keeping an eye on the FICA and the PERF. You're gonna, the unemployment, and there's a couple other things here, but we'll talk about all 5 of them. The FICA, PERF, and unemployment, if you think about it, the council makes all decisions regarding wages. You're the only body that has the authority to determine wages. So these are a direct result of the wages that you've approved or that you passed in budgets. So the FICA and the PERF are what we look at this time of year. Is we try to look at what is on the unexpended report, what the percentage of wages are unexpended versus what the expenditure for FICA and PERF is unexpended. And then we try to project out for you how much more money you're gonna need to be able to cover FICA and PERF. Obviously, you're gonna pay FICA and PERF regardless. It's not an option not to pay it. The unemployment's a small one, but based on the claims we've had this year, this is what we're projecting you'll need for the rest of the year. You may need more than that because it's a more variable cost depending on how much success Human Resources has fighting unemployment claims. There's 2 other ones, the settlements. I think you know what that is, and Commissioner Gardner would be happy to talk about it if you'd like to address it more. I think he addressed it during the budget hearings, where those come from, but he'd love to talk to you about that, and he's here to do so. The care of inmates in state, these are Madison County residents that are housed in state hospitals. So like Logansport, Madison, Evansville, Neuro Diagnostics, and it's a clothing bill to be able to clothe our residents in these state hospitals. It's not a ton of money, but we're running really low on that. If we get another invoice, we won't be able to pay it. As you see, we're asking for $2,000, and obviously we'll only spend it if we get invoices from one of those state hospitals. Are there any other questions for me while I'm up here?
Do you know how much is in that line right now for inmates?
I think there's like a couple $100, so.
1985.
I mean, if he can't hear you, we definitely can't hear you.
1985.
We have other items that the auditor pays to think of the care of inmates in state. We also do a burial for soldiers you know, we pay like $50 for a headstone and $100 for its burial. There's a lot of functions like that that are embedded in the commissioner's budget, but the bills come to the auditor's office. We pay them, we keep track of them. So the commissioner's budget is full of things that Tom Becker says, hey, how come you spend all our money, you know? But there's functions like that that are embedded in the commissioner's budget that we actually take care of. So, and the council is responsible for wages.
Well, just for clarification on the settlement, since Commissioner Gardner's here, would you mind expounding on that a little bit?
Settlements are basically insurance claims, any liability claims, car accidents, any lawsuits, anything that would be under our deductible. In that category, the deductible is $50,000. So let's say you had a car accident and you totaled SUV. Let's say that vehicle is $60,000. $50,000 of it is paid from that line. $10,000 the insurance would pay. So it's a variety of those type things. We have pending, as of this morning, I think there's been 3 recent new accidents, some already pending. It'd also be things like a slip and fall. There was some of this I can divulge, but some of this is confidential federal settlements, so I can't talk about some of that. But out of for this year, there's been almost $207,000 paid out of that settlement line. That settlement line is really a title that we gave to that line several years back when I don't say disparage anyone, but some previous commissioners a few years back and the council were kind of back and forth over some spending without appropriation or request for appropriation. So what we done when I was in the auditor's office, we split things out that weren't actually attorney fees, but related to these other type things that were not controllable. We put them in the settlement line. It would be, the easiest way would be, let's say your attorney fees are 34,000 line. It's like 34,000 A, B, C, D, depending on, I mean, I'm just trying to give an example, but to try to categorize that for future budgeting purposes. But I can go through some of this, but there's, let's see how many pages I have. So out of 6 pages of payments throughout this year at that 207,000 mark, and keep in mind $85,000 was paid out this month. So out of 6 pages of payments, only one of those were actually related to the commissioner's office. I don't really remember, I didn't look at that, didn't catch that until this afternoon what it was, but that particular case was dismissed. But before that case was dismissed, there was $4,537.44 in attorney fees related to that before the court dismissed it. But something that we might have, we often will get there might be a car crash, this is an example I get, on Interstate 69 and Highway 13. When that happens, a lawsuit might come about. When it is, they sue the governor of Indiana, state highway, county highway, board of commissioners. If it happened in a town, they'll get the town. And even though you get dismissed out of those a lot, there's attorney fees that are involved in that, or that you have to disperse prior to getting dismissed. And it's really sad, because if you drive around town, look at most of the major intersections, and there's a business card on that billboard for, I'm just going to say it, ambulance chasers. So often we get a lot of claims, but a lot of them are dismissed, but there's attorney fees that happen before they get dismissed. Most of these claims for this year, there's one for the Lone Oak solar thing. That's still, that was a $2,900 claim. There's, I think, one from the Board of Health, that was, I think that was a car accident. And Sheriff, forgive me, I'm not picking on the sheriff, but the majority of these claims in here are related to the sheriff's department in some manner or another. Nobody wants to be in jail, and when they fall out of a bed over there, you're gonna get sued. We're a $300 million bill, you're gonna get sued. So it's a matter of what's it cost you to get those things settled, and quite frankly, that's what this is. Almost none of these claims, only the one, like I said, for this year is related to, here's a slip and fall at MCCC. Prisoner slipped and fell. And then, of course, they filed a lawsuit, and that looks like about 10 grand was paid on that behalf. I don't know if that was settled, and they got anything, but there's a lot of attorney fees involved in that just to get rid of it. So when people say the commissioners spend or overspend, we're spending for other people most of the time. Like I said, $207,000 for this year, and that $4,500 is all that was related to the commissioners. And I truly don't even know what that is, but the only reason I say it's because it's got our initials up there to the side, but those are attorney fees, and it was dismissed by the court. So I don't know how helpful that is, but any lawsuit that we might get would be paid from that's under the deductible.
Other questions?
So, Commissioner Gardner, the $150,000, is that what you anticipate you're gonna need this year based upon what's pending right now? Or is that something that already has been decided that needs paid?
There's a lot of things pending, and I think Todd helped with that number based on his percentages. And if you go back through history, it usually plays out, unfortunately, like you don't want it to. Those numbers usually are pretty accurate.
Todd, any unspent monies just revert back to general fund at the end of the year if we over.
That's right. I wish I could tell you that never happens, but it does. And some of these examples, it's shameful, really. But you're the county taxpayers, the deep pocket for these type people. So anyway, but car accidents also, if you have a car, like I said, if you have a car accident, and if it's the county's fault, then they will pay for ours and the other person's out of the same fund. So it's unfortunate part of doing business, but yes.
Do you have any control over reducing the amount you spend in settlements?
Not really. You have attorneys that work for the insurance company that try to get those liabilities as low as they can get it, and then they determine whether or not, okay, if this were to go to court, it's going to cost you X, and you can get out of it for this. Unfortunately.
Then if you do go to court and you win, then one of the other people will have to pay it. No.
No. Plus, they more than likely don't have any money, or they would be suing us.
I'm just looking at the 2023 spend, and it's only a little over $125,000 for the whole year.
For which year? I'm sorry.
Oh, wait. No, that's right, for 2023.
Okay, I'm giving you 25 numbers. I'm sorry, I don't have those with me.
They never do.
But I mean, I was just looking at that, and it's a huge increase from 2 years ago.
Yeah, there's a federal lawsuit in here of something that happened at the jail, and that's a big piece of that pie.
The requests, you want to take them individually or collectively? What's that?
Collectively.
We're gonna pass this.
Appropriate in general fund the 5 line items as presented.
Is there a second? We will get a second.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for being honest here. Is there a second to that motion?
A second.
Now it's time for public comment.
Would you allow me to mention one more thing that was earlier, or I can come back up, I don't mind. But it was about the bell tower. I want to clarify something, so. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Name, address, and your views. on
Catherine
this.
Callahan, LaPel, Indiana. So tonight, you're gonna pass $447,000 when you need about $400,000 for these sheriffs for their increase in pay. What blows my mind is you've had 10 days to come up with this. These people have asked you for several months on their merits, and you can't get it together. So now, you cut the budget last year for the commissioners by $1.1 million. You have now awarded them, after you pass this tonight, and you will, $947,000. They only need to spend $153,000 more in order to get back to that $1.1 million that you cut. You come in front of us every year and tell us how much you want to cut the budget, and this is what you do. I wouldn't have any problem if you were spending on these sheriffs. I got a problem because FICA and PERF, that is a mandatory responsibility. You have a commissioner who was an auditor. They know exactly how much they are supposed to appropriate for FICA and PERF. This is way too off. It should not be like this. 2 years ago, they came to you and said, we're $500,000 short on insurance. And that's what they do. They come at the last minute and say, hey, but you have to give this to us. And they back you up against the wall, and then you give them the money. This is a problem of abuse in this department. You know, I don't know where we're going with all of this, but they should have known what FICA and PERF was. When do they ever come in here and transfer money? When do they ever give money back? They don't. I do not understand what you're doing. When you pass this tonight and you do not vote to raise these merit officers, for these merit officers, $400,000 when you just gave it to the commissioners, you're going to have a huge riot on your hands. I'm telling you right now, I'd be losing my crap at this point. So here's the other thing. We have $5.5 million in play. Okay, you gave him $500,000 of that in April. So I'm not really sure when you guys are saying you need more money. That interest money is sitting there. And this is what I would do tonight if I were this council. I would tell him, we will give you this money. On the contingency, you will give us the money for these officers. That's exactly what I do. You have the power to do that. And so if they want to back you against the wall, you need to back them against the wall. And you need to do it on behalf of the sheriffs.
Hello, it's Nicole Kapuscinski, Madison County's favorite disgruntled combat veteran. I live on the most horrible road, Spring Hill Road, because nobody will pave it. But that's not what I'm here for. So, how do we get an itemized list of the $150,000 breakdown? Does that exist, or does it only exist on his papers?
Should be a public record. That paper should be public.
That paper?
Yeah.
How do we get a copy of the paper that he was looking at while he was up here? Is that possible, or do I gotta go through the,
FOIA.
FOIA? I gotta FOIA that? Is that what that is? Okay, and then I guess that would take out the departments that are getting all these lawsuits, the FOIA, and then federal lawsuits. And I think the best way is working with the people that have all the problems. And inmates, we get a lot of complaints from the inmates, especially about, but this is for when they go out of jail. What's the 2004 care of inmates?
Psych hospital.
Clothing. Okay, because Stennis has issues. She gets put in jail a lot, and she's usually covered in her own goop. And we get a lot of complaints that she's not getting cleaned up properly. So, wanted to say that. And I guess with that, I will go home and do a FOIA. So thank you.
Thank you for your service.
This shouldn't be this hard.
Cheryl McKinney.
It shouldn't be this
So
hard.
I'd like
You
to
should
know,
give me those papers.
how much was spent on attorney
You should just
fees,
give them.
how much has been paid in settlements to date, the number of claims that have been filed to date. They're asking for, just as Catherine said, another $500,000. That's the commissioner's one. If an employee is at fault when there's an accident, do they own any liability in the accident?
I mean, I would have to be if I caused an accident, it'd be on me.
Yeah, David Sargent, Anderson, Indiana. I do have a question that I'm not quite tracking, so if you could enlighten me on this. With your 5-figure perf and your unemployment, from Todd, I think you said that that was from raises that were given by the council?
It's a result of all things, but if you think about all the independent salary, what you think we've done this year, you know, those kind of impacts. Overtime has an impact on it, part-time has an impact on it, there's a lot of impacts to that.
Okay, so from the way I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, the council would have already been aware of these amounts.
Absolutely, this is a
correct?
mandatory
When you
thing.
gave raises and everything and the liability to the county. I consider you very, very astute as far as having a sharp pencil and keeping track of these numbers. Am I wrong on that?
Nope.
I'm just gonna comment, because I looked at the FICA, the PERF, the unemployment, and the care of inmates, and what we appropriated last year for this budget based upon what was spent. And for whatever reason, it was under what was spent last year for those same things. You know, we didn't do any raises, this year for the employees. I know the sheriff's department did receive a 3%, but the rest of the county did not receive any increase for this 25. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I've looked at a lot of budgets, but I'm pretty sure the sheriff's budget has a line item for FICA and PERF, because the PERF is driven, I believe, the sheriff's department, correct? Is the sheriff's department's PERF? They don't pay into that. Yeah, it's separate, yeah. But there's some, like your jail and so forth. So, for whatever reason, it was shorted from last year's, which it should have probably been at the same level as last year's. Because it's the same.
It's something we realized that our numbers, that's what I kept charging. We were not gonna need all that this year, and then we were off by almost 300,000 to start the year. We knew we were gonna be.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Lisa Summers, Alexandria. How much did the commissioners put back last year? And if they were short, then they need to find the money in other areas to cover it, because that's what you had the surveyor do. What's the difference?
Is it on topic?
Nope. Nope.
On this topic?
Nope.
Sorry, about,
Yes.
oh, I thought you were.
Sorry, we're considering this, we have a motion and a second.
Can you remind me how much the council has done in additional appropriations for this year before tonight's meeting? I believe that was in the report.
Yeah, that's over on the spreadsheet.
Are you talking about employment or appropriations?
Additional appropriations from the general fund. 300,000 total?
Plus or minus. I think, we'll put up that original slide.
So this request from the commissioners tonight is more than we've done additional appropriations for every other department the entire year.
Yep. Nobody gets it.
Like the PERF, we knew we were wrong going into budget, they were low.
This-
So it was undercalculated last year, or we cut it last year?
Cut or undercalculated, I can't tell you. I know that was one issue that,
How do you
even
manage?
with no raises,
How do you manage
we were
business
going to
like
have
this?
to put in an additional $300,000 to $400,000 into FICA and PERF with no raises for this year.
This is
Why
not
would you have
acceptable.
approved the budget?
Right?
Not taking any
Well, then ask the questions.
Yeah.
So what are the implications if we don't approve this? So you're okay without an appropriation?
Which is illegal.
I'm gonna, to remind you, this is in the commissioner's budget, but it has to do solely with the county council and the raises we give, the amount of
What
overtime
raises?
that's spent, the amount of part-time that's spent, and you're gonna pay it. We'll pay it without an appropriation, because we're not gonna be held accountable by the federal government for not paying FICA.
But it's a misappropriation of funds.
Not pay PERF and put ourselves, our retirement for our county employees in jeopardy. These lines are a function of the county council, not the commissioners. That's
Shouldn't
just
have
the
appropriated.
location of these lines. The commissioners have absolutely nothing to do with FICA and PERF.
Yes, yes.
That's all driven by the county council, because the county council is
No.
the sole body in the county that establishes the number of employees, the rate of pay, and compensation. So there's a lot of nonsense, but these have nothing to do with commissioners. This is purely a county council function.
So, who calculated these for this year's budget? It's up to you, don't have to answer it.
We always calculate, we're trying to project what that FICA and PERF is. And just like, if you'll remember during just the recent budget hearings, I'm like, no, please don't touch the FICA and the PERF. If you look at that spending, remember that column that Christie had me add with the expended? If you look at that expended, you can look out in the future and see that you don't want to reduce next year's budget, because you're already going to spend more than what next year's budget is set at, okay? But when we do that, if you think about all the salary ordinances, the amended salary ordinances we've had since January, I believe we've had amended salary ordinances every month of the year, okay?
So why can't we do the sheriff's?
Think about that when that number's going up, or think about if you've appropriated a lot of overtime for the sheriff's department. He spent well over what you gave him to budget for. When you appropriate more money for overtime, or you appropriate more money for part-time, you have a FICA and a PERF responsibility that comes with that. We know the percentages, they're not, it's not ambiguous, but that does have an effect on it. Now, like, for example, the sheriff's merit officers, they don't pay into PERF. They're part of a separate retirement group. But any other body that you're increasing the wage in, or you have overtime in, you definitely have FICA, and you most likely have PERF, with the exception of the merit officers. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions?
Well, some of the new salary ordinances we did, some of them are miscellaneous budgets, but they have to up their.
That's right, yeah. You're exactly right.
Part of the deal, if we're gonna pay something.
Yeah.
So we feel like this amount will get us through the end of the year?
Yes, that's based on a projection. If we look at unexpended amounts, you probably know the unexpended reports that I send you. We're looking at 32% of unexpended when we did the analyzing of where we were, and we're at 30% unexpended for FICA and PERF roughly. So we're projecting forward to make up that difference. One of the reasons I bring it to you now, though, is because you need to know it's coming, and we're going to appropriate that money, so it helps you make better budget decisions from now until the end of the year, knowing that that appropriation is already accounted for.
All of your time, you're telling us not to do money appropriations.
Yes, but we'll pay it with or without appropriation, because I'm not going to jail.
See, back in these, this is forcing their hand.
Excuse me, we're having a.
It's a public meeting.
So if we don't approve it and you don't pay it, you go to jail. But if
Folks,
we,
just a minute, Council, I apologize for interrupting. But we're here to have a dialogue. Sometimes we have an interaction with constituents who are coming to the mic, but we're not having conversation out in the audience. We need to be able to hear one another.
And speak into your mics when
'Cause
you're
you can't hear.
talking. We can't hear you back.
We will do our best.
We can't hear you.
It's been asked like
We're
5
not
times.
gonna have any more conversation. Counselor Kelly.
But we can't hear you.
Speak into your mic.
yes. So I just want to understand. So if we don't appropriate the money, you're saying you're going to pay it anyway? Because it would be a
absolutely.
violation of federal law?
Yes.
You don't. But if we But in that same situation, where you would spend without appropriation, you'd also be committing a misdemeanor here.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd rather take the misdemeanor.
Well-
Good, let 'em.
Yeah. And really, what would happen to the State Board of Accounts would think the county council's goofy and for not appropriating FICA and perf, and they would probably have a finding on you, not on me for paying it.
So do we have the money to approve this?
You don't have an option unless you're gonna reduce staff.
Cut the sheriff's budget.
Well, I guess they just told the sheriffs where they stand.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please. I'm sorry?
Did we do public comment? Okay, all right.
Counselor Steele?
Yes.
Counselor Culp?
Yes.
Counselor Likens?
Yes?
Counselor Grabowski?
Yes.
Counselor Keller?
No.
Vice President North?
Yes.
President Green?
Yes. Next is a,
President Green, can I request a 5-minute recess?
certainly, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, folks.
We don't